For the third year and counting, Richard Skipper has been celebrating the artists you love.
And what are some of the things that you've really run out of time? And we've got to talk about your latest. I want to go back a little bit, first of all, and celebrate a true legend.
Richard Skipper is all about celebrating life, art, and his guest body of work.
And did you pursue performing opportunities while you were in high school?
Please join us while he showcases these diverse and talented individuals. Here's Richard Skipper.
Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Richard Skipper Celebrates. This is a brand new show that I'm launching today that I hope to do every Friday, and it's going to be a wrap-up of the week that we've just experienced, talking about special things that we're going to celebrate, things that we're going to talk about, books that we've read, movies that we've seen, whatever is on our mind. I've reached out to a few friends to join me today. You never know who may be popping in. And I am very excited because I am going to bring on the screen right now a very dear friend of mine that I have not seen in ages because of COVID. And that's my dear friend, Richard Holbrook. So Richard, first of all, welcome to the show. This is our first time doing anything virtually, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And it's great to see you, Richard. Thank you for inviting me.
It's good to see you. First of all, I want to ask you, how have you been able to manage through COVID? We haven't spoken or anything during this period.
I've been managing pretty well. So far, so good. I've had all my vaccination shots. I had my booster shot and my flu shot, and I've stayed remarkably healthy. I'm negative every time I've tested for COVID. I've been negative, and I've been ushering. I'm a sub usher at the Broadway theaters, and sub ushers as well as full-time ushers, they have to test twice for COVID. And knock on wood, I've stayed pretty healthy, and I was able to do my holiday show this year, and that went very, very well. I had 30 people the first night and 18 people the second night, and I was able to raise funds for the cancer support community. But it was a very challenging time for me because, as you know, almost 9 years ago, I underwent surgery for jaw cancer. And in the surgery, I had my lymph nodes taken out. And if you don't have your lymph nodes, that makes you more susceptible to infection. So I've stayed infection free. I've been very healthy, knock on wood. So I'm very blessed and very lucky and very happy to be still alive, and most of all, to be here with you today.
Well, we're going to talk about that because today is National Cancer Day. And that is one of the reasons why I wanted you to come on the show, in addition to the fact that you're a dear friend of mine and I love you. You recently had a birthday, am I right?
Yes, on Monday I had a birthday, and it was a beautiful day, and I wound up celebrating it by going to see our mutual friend Jeff Harner do his Cy Coleman show at the Birdland Theater. And I told him, I Facebook messaged him, and I said, "Are you going to see me tonight?" And he wrote back, "Richard, you're celebrating your birthday with me tonight?" And he said, "I'm thrilled and honored." So that night, it was a wonderful, wonderful show, by the way. And
that's what I hear.
Yeah, if he ever reprises it, you must go see it. He introduced me and wished me a happy birthday from the stage. So I thought that was very, very sweet. Very sweet.
Well, that's wonderful. I mean, well, that's what this show today is about. We want to talk about things that we've seen, books and everything. But someone gave me this wonderful game over the holidays called Be Best. And it's an icebreaker game with these questions. And I pulled a random question. I don't even know what the question is that I'm going to ask you. So I'm going to put you on the spot. And the first question is, how do you get in the way of your own success? And I don't know if you've ever gotten in the way of your own success.
Oh, many times. I have had a close friend of mine, Donnelly Betts, who used to, she's an actress. She used to stage my cabaret shows years ago. She said, sometimes she said to me, you get in the way of yourself because you try to control everything. And you need to control, especially in this business. You need to have some control over what you want to do, and how you want to, how you want it to be presented, and how you want it to go. Hopefully it will go well.
Mhm.
But there are just things that you have no control over, and if you try to exert too much control, it can backfire on you.
Mhm.
And that's what I've learned. So I guess I've gotten in my own way many times, and I every time I get in my own way, I'll say to myself, okay, lesson learned. But I always find myself kind of falling prey to that fault. But I try to watch myself. But no, I've gotten in my own way many times.
Well, I want to talk about something that did get in the way of your success just briefly, and that was the cancer.
Yes.
Because your career was going full steam. You did, on the average of, was it 2 cabaret shows a year that you were doing? And
Yeah.
you did these phenomenal cabaret shows, uh, giving the songbooks of these incredible songwriters, the composers, Burton Lane,
Yes.
Richard Rogers, along with our dear departed friend, Richard Barclay.
Mhm.
And the research that you not only put into those shows, but you gave to the audience with each of those shows. And then you are thrown, talk about a massive curveball. Let's talk about, first of all, how you found out that you had cancer and what that did for you psychologically and how you were able to get through that.
Well, it was the summer of 2013, and I was about to do a reprise of my Fred Astaire show, and it was going to be at Don't Tell Mama in October. And over the summer, I had experienced some discomfort in my mouth, which felt like a cancer sore on my gum. And I thought it would go away, and it didn't go away. And one night, as I was brushing my teeth, it started bleeding, and I got worried. And my dentist had wanted me to go see an oral surgeon for an examination. And so finally, I decided to take his advice, and I called up the oral surgeon to make an appointment. And then I went to see my dentist. Um, so the oral surgeon had to schedule me a couple of weeks later, but in the interim, I went to see my dentist for a checkup. And at that meeting, he put his hand on my shoulder and he said, "I'm going to twist your arm. I want you to go see Dr. Zegarelli, the oral surgeon I mentioned to you." I said, "I've already made the appointment with him." Well, I went to see him, and he said, "This looks suspicious." And he had the results for me Labor Day weekend, 2013, and it was a stage 4 single cell carcinoma. And it was he said it was a low grade malignancy. And so for a week, I was in denial. I went about my business. I said, "I'm going to do the show. I'm not going to tell my family. I'll see what I can do about staying in the city, about getting an operation or a treatment or whatever." Because I had just lost my brother to tongue cancer the year before, and I didn't want to put my family in that, you know, state again. Well, I finally had to call my sister because there were insurance glitches, and she arranged for me to be examined by a doctor down in Atlanta, Georgia, at Emory University Hospital. And they made arrangements that if I needed surgery down there, I would have it down there. And so I went down there on September 10th, 2013, had the operation October 1st. It had already spread to the jawbone by then. And when I met him on the 11th of September, the surgeon, I said, "Well, don't you think we ought to get this done sooner?" He said, "No, no, no. It spread to the jawbone. It won't spread any further, but the jaw will have to go. And we can replace it with bone from your shoulder." And so, okay. And they said, "In the meantime, enjoy, just eat, relax." And I mean, I was the healthiest cancer patient you might have seen, because I mean, I felt like I was on vacation for the next 3 weeks. Well, October 1st, the operation came about, and it was a 13-hour operation. They removed the left side of my left jaw, and they replaced it with the fibula of my left leg instead of my shoulder bone. And I underwent 5 months of recovery, herbal chemotherapy, and radiation. And I had my wonderful family around me, my sisters who live down in the Atlanta area, and my brother Michael, who lives in Columbus, Georgia. And I had my other brothers and sisters come in and visit me, and they took turns taking me to the appointments, taking me to the therapy sessions, making sure I did the exercises. I mean, I had to relearn how to chew, swallow, speak. It was like going back to the basics, and I had to learn how to move my tongue. But I was intubated for a week, where I could not make a sound right after the surgery, and it was that was the most frightening, because to not be able to communicate vocally and not have people understand what you're going through, even writing on a plastic tablet with a magic marker where people can't read your writing, that was doubly irritating. But I got through that, and then I had a feeding tube put in. I couldn't swallow anything. I couldn't take in anything from the throat for like the next 2 or 3 months. And it was only right before Christmas, the week before Christmas, that I had the feeding tube taken out, and I also had a trachea. I had a trachea put in, so I had that taken out, and that was the best Christmas gift I could ask for, because they were amazed at my recovery, the rapidness of my recovery, and they were just very, very pleased. And by January, they were talking about me coming back to New York to resume my life. And on February 14th, 2014, which I think is your birthday.
February 11th. It's February 11th. Yes.
February 11th. Sorry, I was close. I came back to New York, and Ken met me at the airport, and I went back to my life. I was working at the Paley at the time. I went back in March, and then in the spring, I went back to start rehearsing my Fred Astaire show for the following September. And because I had the trachea put in my throat, it was like a foreign object placed in your larynx, and it was like I had to really work to get that muscle back in shape, because when I first started singing with Tom Nelson, it was like, scraping gravel along a driveway. It was so, and there were notes I couldn't hit, easy notes I could hit, before. I wasn't even able to hit then. And so I had to really work on increasing my range and getting it back. And it took a while, but I must say that my range is back.
That's great.
Fully. And
the last time I saw you, you sounded great.
Yeah, and they were very concerned, because they weren't sure whether or not I would be able to speak, much less sing. The doctors, but they were amazed.
Well, that's wonderful. I want to ask you: do you have any sisters?
Yes, I do. I have 4 sisters.
Yes, and they must be proud of you.
They are very proud of me. I call them my angels, because they were just so wonderful to me, and my brothers as well. I mean, what this really did, I'm from a family of 9, and as I told you before, my brother John passed away the year before I was diagnosed. But all of my family members, really, this brought me closer together with them.
That's
and
wonderful.
They were so supportive. And the nice thing is, the most wonderful thing is that after the operation, the surgeon came in and said it went from a stage 4 miraculously to a stage 3 curable. So, I mean, that was a gift.
That's amazing. Well, the reason I asked about sisters is because it's wonderful when a sister will go on Facebook and talk about how proud she is of her brother. And that's how I met our next guest. Steve Rosenzweig is here. He's going to be doing a TED Talk on cancer, which we're going to talk about in a moment. That's coming up. And Mary Ziev, who's watching, who I am a huge fan of, she's been on as well. And she was talking about how proud she is of her brother. And I said, do you think he would come on the show? And she said, I'll reach out. And here he is. Steve, first of all, welcome to the show. You've heard Richard's story. And if you just want to say anything in relation to the work that you're doing to build upon his story as well.
Well, Richard, congratulations. It's a remarkable story.
Thank you, Steve.
Head and neck cancer is a tough one, especially the surgeries. They're all very long.
Yes.
Now you've got a TED Talk coming up, and I was reading about this. You are doing a TED Talk on the this new discovery of nanotubes, and if you can describe what exactly that is, because as I did a little research today, and I still don't understand it.
Okay,
So if you could explain it to
let
us,
me give it a shot.
yes.
So the interesting thing with our work is we went from studying a growth factor inhibitor, and we discovered that part of that inhibitor protein, when in isolation, when you put a lot of it together, it spontaneously forms these nanotubes. Nanotubes are really teeny weeny, if you will, tubes, like a straw. But they're measured in the nanometer range, if you know measurements. So if you think of the period at the end of a sentence,
Mm-hmm.
that's 1,000,000 nanometers wide. We can fit approximately 1,000,000 of our nanotubes on top of that period.
Wow.
So what, you might ask? Well, they've become extremely popular across all disciplines of science, but in medicine in particular, nanotubes have found a use in drug delivery. So you can load them with toxic chemotherapeutic drugs to protect normal healthy cells. Then you can arm them by adding targeting molecules on the surface that will specifically target proteins on the cancer you're trying to fight. And then you inject them, and they find their way to the cancer cells and bind, and then they're taken into the cell and broken down. They release the loaded drugs, and they kill the cell.
Wow.
So it changed our research activities in a dramatic way. The discovery was both unexpected and extremely exciting.
So the talk that you've got that's coming up with the TED Talk, when exactly, first of all, is that going to be taking place? And if you can give us a little bit of information about the direction that your talk will be going in with when you do your talk.
Sure. The TED Talk is March 23rd in Charleston, South Carolina. This is TEDx Charleston.
That's my home state.
Right? And it'll be done in the afternoon. I've been meeting with coaches. I've had my 4th meeting last night. So let me tell you, going from a scientific technological talk to a lay public talk takes a lot of work.
Well, let me ask you, I mean, will this be available to the public to listen, to hear this?
It won't be streamed, but
Okay.
once it's going to be recorded, and once all of the talks are approved, or each individual talk is approved by the main TED group to make sure there's nothing that's infringing on any copyrights, etc.
Okay.
Then it will be loaded online, and it'll be available at TEDxCharleston.org.
Now, Mary, who brags about you nonstop, she says that you're also a great musician. So where does the music come into your world, since both Richard and I are both musicians as well?
Well, I was a musician before I was a scientist.
Good. Okay.
I started on the clarinet and then went to guitar, and I still play. So, in fact, you may have heard of the Hope Lodge, or you may not have. So, this is this is part of the American Cancer Society. They have Hope Lodges in about 40 states.
Mm-hmm.
This is where patients from out of town, when their family comes with them for surgeries, their families can stay at the Hope Lodge free of charge.
Oh, that's amazing.
And so I've performed at the Hope Lodge in Charleston, which was the #1. It was the first Hope Lodge in the country,
Mm-hmm.
started by a Holocaust survivor.
Wow. Well, God bless you both.
Wonderful.
I want to bring on another guest. I don't think that it was cancer that he went through, but Robert Bannon, you went through a huge illness, which took you also, of course, for many years. If you can take us down that path, first of all, welcome to the show, Robert.
Hi, Richard.
And great singer, great musician himself, killed at Feinstein's 54 Below just a year ago, was it? That we
August, yes.
We were there cheering you on. And if you can tell everyone about what you went through when you were much younger, a few years younger, and what you went through and how long it took you to get through the illness that you went through.
Well, I listened to Richard's story and then Steve's story and said, oh no, I'm on the wrong show because you guys have some stories to tell. Richard, what an inspiring hour with these two gentlemen. Richard Holbrook, a pleasure to hear your story. And Steve, you're wow, that is a body of work for sure.
Well, thank you, Robert.
I was fascinated. I was 12 years old when I woke up with swollen knees and I couldn't walk. And my parents took me to the best hospital that they could at the time. I'm from New Jersey. We went to Columbia Presbyterian and we met with rheumatologists, and they said that I had ankylosing spondylitis, which is what Ed Sullivan had, which would have debilitated me and put me in a wheelchair, and went for all this stuff. And I never ended up having ankylosing spondylitis. Don't mind my dog. I apologize. And what ended up happening was it was Lyme disease. It's a party up there. It was Lyme disease that was undiagnosed, and they pumped me so full of steroids that it ended up giving me encephalitis, and I had I was homeschooled for 4 years. I had swelling of my optic nerves. I was at Johns Hopkins in Baltimore receiving special treatment because a lot of the hospitals wouldn't have dealt with it because they were unsure exactly what had happened and the cycle of the whole thing. So for me personally, the most formative years of people's lives usually are high school, and I never spent a normal day in high school. I was on home instruction or half day at home and half day in school all the way through I never took a day of high school gym. Not that I complain about that. I never, it literally stopped me on a dime. So hearing Richard's story, Mr. Holbrook's story is amazing to me because literally you could wake up and you don't know what the future holds. And I think what we've learned the past few years is that we never would imagine that we'd be going into 3 years of this pandemic as well. So, yeah, it's so important to take care of yourself and find good doctors and get treatment. And I'm so grateful to my parents because I was so young, but a lot of people told them they were crazy. A lot of people told them that they were wasting their time, their money. The doctors would tell me it was psychological and that I needed to go. And I'm plenty crazy, but I wasn't making this up. And finally, finding the right people and the doctors to take care of me allows me to be here, to talk to you guys today.
Absolutely. That's
very inspiring. Thank you for sharing that, Robert.
Now, I'm going to bring Tym Moss on. I brought him on for all the levity that we need today. Hello, Tym.
Hi, everybody.
So, and Tym, and I hope you don't mind, and I hope I'm not putting you on the spot, but you've been very open and very forthcoming with going through some, and the reason I wanted everyone, we've all gone through these trials and tribulations of being able to get to the other side. And that's what I want this show to be about, hope and getting to the other side. And you dealt with, getting through some very dark times in your life. And if you can talk about what you want to openly talk about and how you got to the other side of that. And welcome to the show as well.
Absolutely. Well, firstly, thank you, Richard, for bringing all of us together. This is amazing. Richard Holbrook, thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. That was incredible. Steve, oh my God, thank you for all the work you're doing. That is amazing. Amazing. And Robert, oh my goodness, thank you for sharing that too. We've all been through challenges in life. Mine, I guess, was a little more self-inflicted. I suffered from a 20-year drug and alcohol addiction that by all accounts should have killed me. it got very extreme the final years. And I can relate a lot to what you were saying, or what I've heard so far as I had to learn how to think all over again. My mind and my brain was completely upside down, and it just took years of rehab and trying to learn how to talk and to function and to get basically back into society. But during that time, and again, this is Cancer Awareness Week, my mother died of colon cancer. Then my father had prostate cancer, malignant. And my sister is currently going through a milder version, but she's fine. Everything is good. But isn't it amazing how you are educated to things when you're thrust into it? Like malignancy, metastasizing, all of these terms that oncology, I had no idea what any of these terms were until it was right in front of me, and we were forced to learn it. But I guess as far as my situation, I learned so much throughout that process. For one thing, but again, that situation is a lot different than yours, than the physical that you had went through. But I found a lot of things out about myself that I'm sure you did as well, that I was a lot stronger than I had any idea I was. And I'm sure you did as well, that you got through more than you ever imagined that you were able to do. And that's one of the things that, I thank the higher power and the universe for just instilling me with that, and instilling me with that knowledge as well. Because I've discovered that going back to what Richard was talking about, if I just get out of my way and stop trying to control situations, it's much easier. You can get through things with much more ease.
Wow. So hopefully we're going to have a little fun here. I've got some questions these are some random questions that I have pulled up. So I don't know what question I'm going to ask each of you, but we're going to play a little round robin game, and just be prepared. Anything may be coming in your direction. And I'm going to start with you, Richard Holbrook. And this question is, what is the worst thing that you ever said to your mother?
Oh, dear. I don't know if I said anything terrible to my mother at all. I not that I didn't think of things in my mind, but I would never dare. I mean, my mother was a beautiful lady, and
good for you.
She was a very classy lady, and very much the strength of our family.
Good for you.
She would have to discipline me. And thinking back over those times, I mean, she did it for the right reasons. And I may not have liked it at the time, but I have a better understanding of where she was coming from. So I don't think I ever said anything terrible to my mother at all. Like I never said I hate you or anything like that, because if I did that, I would have died. I would have died of shame and guilt. And I thought, how dare I do that? How dare I say that? Because I was brought up, as you all were, that, your parents were to be respected.
Absolutely.
And no back talk, no nothing like that. If you back talk them, you were punished. And I would never even dare think of that. So, I mean, I'm not that I was a golden child, but
you're a golden child now, because that's the perfect answer. I love that answer.
Thank you. No, I never did that, but I was blessed with wonderful parents.
That's wonderful.
Especially my mother.
Steve, going through life, what do you think that you have been the most naive about?
Oh, so many things. Where do I begin?
Anything in particular that you want to elaborate upon?
Yeah, I was pretty naive in terms of thinking I could become a scientist.
But you did it.
Because, one thing is there's studies, there's coursework, there's research, And then there's the whole political scene of dealing with other scientists. And so I was really naive about that.
But like I said, you did it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Robert, what do you have the strongest ability? When do you feel that you have the strongest ability to concentrate? When is your power of concentration the strongest?
That's an interesting question. I think I'm a manic ADD kind of, I don't sit still for 5 minutes. But to be honest with you, I think the most and feel the most centered and still when it's not the most fun answer, but I love exercise. That's the only time I come with an idea. So if I'm on an elliptical machine in my house, or if I'm on a walk, or if I'm riding a bike or something, just the fact that I have to stay still and do the same motion over and over again, it allows my brain to kind of think and not get distracted by, oh, I probably should clean that. No, I have to answer this call and I have to do. I'm one of those weird people that like reads a book and watches TV and is on my phone at the same time. I can't sit still. So that's usually the time when I'm most centered and ideas try to come to me.
How does
Not
that
all
work?
good.
How does that work in a classroom?
What's funny? A fifth grade classroom is like a 6-hour cabaret show. It is, it's a consistent audience, and just a heckling audience.
I wish I'd had you as a teacher when I was in school.
Well, today I had a student say to me, I went and got the computer. I was doing grades, report cards were due. And I was doing grades and they were working on their own. And it's going to be icy here in the East Coast. So they had a 1 o'clock day. So it was a 1 o'clock day. So I figured today would be the perfect day to do their grades and let them work at their seat. So my computer died. So I went to get the charger and one of the kids said, "Oh, now that your computer's dead, maybe you'll actually get up and teach," as a joke.
Oh my gosh.
So it's like a comedy club. Like you get the heckler and you have to think like, I'm not going to throw my chair at them. So I'm going to try to find a good response. No. It's good because they keep me on my toes and it keeps me busy. And I try to be as creative as I can in the classroom and engaging. If it's not about, it's like what you do so well, Richard. The show is not you as a good host know that the show is about the guests. And then in knowing that the show is about the guests, then it's about you, because then we all get to say Richard Skipper's a great talk show host and he's a great host of a program. So it's the same way as a teacher. I feel like the more that you make it about them and you're there for them, the more it reflects positively on you. So that's what I try to remind myself.
You're not only a teacher, but you're an entertainer. And that adds to it. That adds to that feeling of keeping them interested and keeping the interest flowing. And that's wonderful.
Thank you. I always say that I think teaching, I took 15 years not singing and not acting and not doing anything and really had a whole other life. And that whole other life as a teacher, I think when I came back to this, which is why I call my show and my album and everything is called Unfinished Business, because it's about me coming back to it. Teaching has allowed me to feel so much more comfortable as an artist, because when you have those eyeballs on you all day, you get used to doing mundane things and having conversations and not being so in your head about what people are thinking. So it's really been a backwards blessing in many ways.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's great. Tim, what are you most proud of from this past week?
Oh, from this past week. Oh my goodness. Honey, I can't remember what I had for dinner yesterday, let alone what all I've done this past week.
Well, let me tell everyone, Tim was nominated for a Glam Award, and he was at the Glam Awards this week. So that's something to be proud of this week.
Yes, absolutely. I was very pleased. The Glam Awards here in New York City are for nightlife, but more specifically the drag community in nightlife. And just simply the fact, and simply the fact that I do not do drag and I'm not a drag and still got a nomination, I was very grateful for that. I was so
congratulations.
I was very proud of that. Thank you.
Speaking of which, before we move on, I will give a plug for Robert Bannon, because Robert has a wonderful roundtable show himself. No, you do. Just say thank you.
Thank you.
And you had Bianca Del Rio on your show.
Bianca Del Rio.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's available. People can still go see it. So, please, everyone, check out this show.
I've had many conversations with Richard about hosting a show. Honestly, God's honest truth. I love your format, and being a guest on your show. I don't mean to interrupt, but being a guest on your show was truly a lesson in unique and interesting questions. That's why when you say I have a random question, I'm like, uh-oh, what will 5-year-old me think of this? I'm petrified. I'm scared. So I'm ready for you, Richard. I got your number now.
Okay. Richard, we're back to you again. What do you feel, are you originally from Atlanta?
No, I'm originally from the New York area. I was born in New York City. I was born in New York City, raised in Rockland County, Congress, New York.
Oh, that's right.
Which I'm very proud of. I'm very proud of.
With our dear friend Russ Woolley.
Yes, I know Russ very well.
Yes. So, do you feel, living here in New York, maybe you can answer this question, that you ever felt that there was a period in your career that I refer to, because I came from South Carolina to New York, as the hunger years, years of struggle to establish yourself in the business? And if so, what were those years like for you? And would you ever want to go back and revisit those years?
I was in New York until I was 31. I went away to college, of course, but I lived in the area up until I was 31, and then went down to Florida for 10 years, Orlando, and thinking that I could, get more of an inroad as an entertainer there, but I didn't. And I realized that if I wanted to sing the kind of songs I wanted to sing, there was no better place than New York City. So in 1999, I went back to New York, and I had a little over $600 in my pocket and plenty of hope. And within the following 3 weeks, both would be stretched to fearful thinness. I went from sort of like pillar to post, staying in friends' apartments, houses, until I could find lodging. And I was going back and forth. In fact, at one point between Rockland County and New York, I needed a place to park my stuff. And I stayed with a friend for 2 weeks in Spring Valley, even though I really wasn't there. But I would get on the bus continuously to go to New York to try to find a place to live and try to find work. And on the bus, on the bus one day going to New York, I met this woman who worked at the Yonkers Presbyterian Church, and she told me about it. And they said, if you're interested, you might want to apply, because they have resident staff there where they monitor the comings and goings of the 12-step meetings in the lobby, and that you do little church chores, and at a minimal rent, And so I applied, and I got hired. And that was in June of 1999, about a month after I had moved to New York. And I got a room for $150 a month. And so, but I was really trying to find work, and there were times I went hungry. I had a waiter job for about a week at a hotel, and that was where I would get my breakfast in the morning. So and there were times when I wouldn't even have enough money on me to get some fruit at a corner fruit stand. And so I knew what it was like to be hungry, and I knew what it was like to really want things that I couldn't get. And I remember Sidney Meyer, our very good friend. I told him, because he was worried about me at the time. He said, "Have you found lodging?" I said, "Yes." I said, "I found the Yonkers Presbyterian Church where I'm paying $150 a month, and I'm getting jobs here and there, but I'm getting myself slowly but surely established or reestablished back in New York." And he said to me, "Well, Richard, remember that. Remember those times. Remember these times that you went through, because that will always keep you grounded in reality, so that whenever you're thinking about, oh, I wish I wish things were better, think about when things weren't better, when they were really worse. And these were the worst times, but I was too busy to even think about them because I was too busy doing and trying to get myself settled and to survive. So I hope that answers your question. It's long-winded.
No, absolutely, it does answer my question, and thank you for telling us this. This is great.
Yeah. And I stayed at Young Hoops for 5 years, and until I met Ken, and I moved to the Upper West Side. So
well, and you're still here, as the song
I'm
goes.
still here. Yes.
Steve, question for you: what lessons did you learn this week to help make next week a better week?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm not sure what the answer is. This week has been an interesting week. We saw the president reaffirm the moonshot for cancer, and it turns out there were a few $100 million that weren't spent yet since it started a few years ago. And so for me, it just tells you that you need to keep your eye on the ball and go forward.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Robert, when have you been the most motivated in your career?
Okay, in my career. That's a great question. I was the most motivated, I think, over the past. I was a kid that went, I just told the story. I was at Juilliard Prep when I got sick. I was on a fast track to a career in musical theater and music when I got sick. So it really took me upended. And then when I went to college at 18, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I became a poli-sci major and became a teacher and got my master's degree in educational leadership and in reading, and then decided that I wanted to get back at this and all of that. And at 33 years old, which is not old, but it is older than what an agent or a manager or a Broadway producer would say, decided that I was going to go to acting school. And I went to William Esper and built my cabaret show and started doing musical theater again in my mid-30s after not doing it for 15 years. But there's something that is so motivating at that time. It was the age, and it was, it's not that it's a negative thing to have been that age, but it was also like, I felt like I had given so much time away that it motivated me, that I really felt like this was the moment I had to do it. And the days that were hard, or the days that I didn't feel like I was ready, it was something Richard, you said before, and Richard Holbrook said before about stopping yourself, like entertainment at whatever that level of success that means for each person, or whatever medium it is. It's something that I've wanted to do my whole entire life. I was a kid at 10 years old, singing, putting my bed sheets, hanging them up in the living room to do shows. And I stopped myself for so long because I didn't know if I was good enough, if anyone would care. And it doesn't go away. It will just chase you your whole entire life. So the sooner I gave into it and realized that it was something more than I could, that it was bigger than me, the more success I found, because I just was unapologetic about it. This is just what I'm going to do. And if you like it, great. And if you don't, that's okay. So I think the past few years, even the pandemic has made me feel motivated about trying to figure out a way to be artistic and creative throughout this period, because it's what helps me live and breathe, is to be a creative person and surround myself with creative people. So that's what keeps me going.
Good. That's wonderful. Tim, when was your most Freudian moment?
My most Freudian moment? I'm not sure I understand what you're fishing for with Freudian. Help me out here.
Yes. Has there ever been a moment where you were thinking and a certain thing was happening psychologically that was different from you were doing one thing but thinking something else?
Again, that kind of goes back to the rehab years, to the dark place. But one thing that I'll try to make it brief, but I was so far gone that I was an amnesiac. I had lost my memories. I had a brain atrophy because I had consumed so much alcohol and drugs that my brain swelled. And when I first went into rehab, my memory started to come back, which was really weird in itself. But one of the first memories to return was, oh my God, I'm an entertainer. I had forgotten for 20 years that I was an entertainer. And when I grabbed a hold of that beautiful memory, and with counselors and therapists and doctors that helped along the way, they help guide me through. But once I committed, I thought, let me get back into entertainment. Let me see what happens. As soon as I committed to that, the most miraculous things started falling right in my path, lighting it up. It was a very narrow path, but it started to light up, and that's what guided me out. And that is the trail that I am still on today, kids. Trust me, because that's the only trail I trust.
Good for you. Good for you. Richard Holbrook, what were your top 3 goals of this week, and did you achieve them?
My top 3 goals: to contact my dentist. I have yet to do that. Also, I wanted to get back to the gym, which I haven't gotten back to yet, but I want to. That's one of my New Year's resolutions. I don't feel out of shape really, but I just feel better when I go to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as performing, I'm planning on doing something sometime during the year. I just have to figure out, what I really want to do, whether it be a tribute to a composer, which I love doing, or just a show about songs that I love to sing. And so those are the 3 goals that have been mulling over in my mind. I haven't gotten around to really pinpointing them, but doing them right away. But those are my 3 goals for this week. But the week isn't over yet. So
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
And I just. But right now, this past month, I was in a state of keeping myself low because of the infection rate surging, and I just thought, with the infection rate surging and the shows, some of the shows having been closing, some of the shows having closed on Broadway for a time, I just thought it might be wise to kind of lay low for a while until February, when things start opening up again, and then I can kind of stick my neck out and start, doing what I want to do, and following those goals,
Okay.
putting them into action.
And Steve, looking ahead, what are your top 3 goals for the next week?
This comes back to TEDx. So I need to go from a written talk that takes 10 minutes or less, and I have to internalize it. So it has to be memorized, but you don't want to memorize it because then it's not fluent. So I need to move it from the written page to a 3x5 card. And the other thing is I need to embellish it with stories. So I tell about my early life. I talk about my training, jumping institutions, and it's all eventually going to get inside my head, and it'll never be the same twice. But the general theme will be the same.
Okay, great. And Robert, what are you currently reading?
Okay. Well, this is not the most educated answer, Richard. I love a good
Whatever you're reading. I'm sorry?
could lie to you and say I'm reading Grapes of Wrath for the 100th time, but that's not. There's a book out right now that I love entertainment and I love pop culture, and there's a book out right now called The True Story Behind I don't even watch these shows. I swear, called The Truth Behind the Real Housewives franchise, and it's how they came
I
up
know
with
about you and the Real Housewives. I've seen the pictures.
well, okay, so I may have watched it a little. So it's about how they came up with the idea, how Bravo came up with the idea, how they thought it was going to be one and done and no one was going to care. And the money that Bravo makes, and the monster of a business it is, and these women who have become their own mini entrepreneurs, like them or not, they market themselves and build a whole empire around themselves. And it's just the politics of the show. It's kind of it's a dishy read because it's a soap opera.
Well, there's nothing wrong with reading that. I think it's great that you're
I bring
reading
the
that.
jersey wherever I go. So that's
And Tim, what is at the top of your to read pile?
Well, funny you should ask. Richard, I'm in a book club with Richard.
Yeah.
Who he is the most brilliant moderator. But we're just finishing up with Julia Cameron's "It's Never Too Late to Begin Again." And that has been an amazing process for me. It's a 12-week. We took over the course of 12 weeks. I'm 60 this year, so we would take each week from 0 to 5, age 0 to 5. The following week was 6 to 10. The week after that was 11 to 15, and just go back and revisit those years. And it's been an amazing and mind-opening and spiritually opening experience for me. So thank you, Richard, for that as well.
Well, do you want to tell them what's next?
I forget the name of the book, but Laurie Kaplan, who's in the room,
Yes.
I see her in the chats.
It's Atlas of the Heart by Brene Brown.
I have it right over there. Oh, yes, the Atlas of the Heart. Yes.
Yes, yes. So, Richard, and what is the current song that you're listening to on a loop? What's the song that you're listening to a lot these days?
Give Me the Simple Life.
Okay, great.
That's a song I'm considering adding to my repertoire, and it's upbeat, it's positive, and it's how I want to be perceived, as an entertainer. I want to make people happy. I want them to forget their troubles and really just enjoy my show whenever I perform. And I hope I hope I succeed in doing that for them. One thing I was going to say to Richard, you mentioned what my goals were. I forgot one important goal. When I did my birthday post of my fundraiser, for the cancer support community, I set it at $500, and I was determined, to get it at least to $500. Well, it's gone to $1,148 in donations.
Congratulations!
So that is a goal that I wanted, but it exceeded its goal. I'm so thrilled and delighted at the outpouring that I received from all my friends on Facebook for that. So
that's one. Congratulations!
I had to add that. I'm sorry.
No, that's great. And Steve, what one person has made the most, who has affected the most, most of the choices that you've made in your life?
Interesting. Well, excluding me, of course.
Mm-hmm.
That's a tough question. I could say my wife. She's helped, but you want to go back earlier to my before marriage years.
If you'd like.
Interesting. So it changed over time. I don't know that I can point to a single person. So when I was going through graduate school, it was my mentor. And then he had influence. He still has influence on me.
What's his name?
Cecil Yip.
That's great. What a great name. That's great. And this is a question for all of you, and I'll start with you, Robert. When it comes to the things that you do, do you do them now or later?
Depends on what they are. I think sometimes I've really been trying to focus on mundane things, because sometimes when you get excited about the things that are glitzy and fun, putting on a show, learning a song, going to dinner with a friend, watching a movie, that stuff is easy for me to do. I want to sit and be in that. What I forget to do is real life stuff, like go to CVS and pick up that prescription, or go to the dry cleaner, or because it's not as fun and it's not as exciting. So, as boring of an answer, the fun stuff I do right away. The stuff that is like a grown-up, I put off till later. So I've been working on making sure that I remember to take care of the regular stuff as well.
Great. Tim, same question.
The question was,
are you a now person or a later person?
I would say very much now, because if I don't do it now while it's on my mind, I forget. It doesn't get done. And thank God for 2 words: Google Calendar. Oh my God.
Richard?
Yeah, I taking from what Robert said, I was the biggest. I really was notorious for putting things off. I was the worst procrastinator that ever was, because I would put things off and put things off and put things off. And like you, Robert, when it came to doing a show, or it came to doing things that I love doing, I would do them in a flash. But right now, I'm at the point where, I mean, if something's on my mind, let's say I have to do my taxes, I have to get my taxes ready. I'm trying to do that before the end of February. My sister is a CPA, and I want to send out my tax information to her so I can get the results back as quickly as I can. But for the past several years, I wasn't able to do that, so my sister would file an extension for me. But those kinds of things, I'm trying to get a grip on, and trying to get ahead of myself, so that to be on top of those things, so that I don't put them off, and they don't hang over my head constantly with like a nuisance. But if you go about your life like that, things will get easier, because you do them, they get done, and it's over. And so you just have to learn to apply yourself to that, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But thank you for bringing that up, Robert.
And Steve?
Well, the short answer is yes.
Perfect answer.
I like to do things right away. I write down to-do lists, and I love crossing out each task.
Mm-hmm. I'm the same way. I like to do it, get it out of the way, and move on. When
it decreases anxiety, right?
Absolutely. If I go to the doctor and the doctor says you need to do this, I mean, those of you, a lot of you who've been following me who know this happened this summer. I went to Provincetown in July. I was there when the COVID outbreak hit, and I have a new dog. You may have heard him barking a few minutes ago, and he's very rambunctious, as you may have heard a few minutes ago. And but I had trouble getting around in Provincetown, which is a very active walking town. And I thought I had sciatica. But I came back, I called my doctor, and I said, I need to see a chiropractor. He said, well, come in, let's see what the problem is. I walked in, I saw the doctor, and he said, get on the scales. And I had ballooned up to 265 pounds. And he said, you got to lose the weight. And I walked out the door, and from that moment on, I just changed everything. I changed the way I eat, everything. I'm proud to say I've lost 60 pounds since then.
You look great. You look great.
Thank you. So I did what I needed to do to take care of it. And that's the way I live my life. It just, when it needs to be done, I do it, I get it out of the way, and I move on.
Priorities.
Priorities. I want to thank all of you for being on this inaugural voyage. I hope it was fun for all of you. This is something that I want to do every Friday just for fun, and there's just so much angst going on right now. I just thought it would be fun just to throw some random questions out there, see where it would take us. We talked about serious issues to start us off because it is National Cancer Day. It is something that we all live with. We deal with it. We have to live with it until there is a cure. And don't be afraid. Deal with it, when it comes up in our lives. Richard is a perfect example. Steve, God bless you with the work that you're doing. Thank you. And thank you, Mary, for bringing Steve our way. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. If this is your first time at Richard Skipper Celebrates, I hope that it will not be your last. Please subscribe. Please tell your friends about the show. Leave a comment on YouTube about today's show. Share this with your friends. I want to share something with all of you. I'm going to bring this up, so grab your pens. There's a page that I have fallen in love with called whatyoumeantome.com. And I would like all of you to go to this site, and then I would like you to go to your Facebook friends list, and let's say the fourth name that pops up, reach out to that fourth friend, then go back to this page and fill out the form and let that fourth friend know what they mean to you, because none of us are promised tomorrow. And how many times do we see that someone's passed on? Yesterday, 2 friends of mine, 2 funerals, 2 yesterday. And all over Facebook, the outpouring of love for those 2 men. And all I kept thinking about was, wouldn't it have been nice if 2 weeks ago, these 2 men had seen on Facebook how much everybody loved them? So if each of us could go to this page and tell that fourth friend what they mean to us, it would mean a lot to that person. And I think we need to do this with all of our friends. But if you just do it to one, that's a little step in that direction. My dear friend David Friedman always says, we're all in this together, but we're not in the same boat. And I always say, if you're going to go out in a boat, make sure you bring a friend along. Now, I'm going to give each of you, I'm going to leave the screen, and I'm going to give each of you a chance to have the final word. I'm going to start with you, Richard, then you, Steve, you, Robert, and Tim. You will get the final word today. Don't worry. As soon as you finish, Richard, it'll go on to Steve, then Robert and Tim, and then I will start the closing credits. Thank you all for being here. Have a safe tonight and a wonderful tomorrow. And again, thank you for being here. Come back next Friday for my birthday show. And Robert, when is your next show, Robert?
I have a show on Thursday night.
And who are your guests?
We're going to talk about a new album coming out, a cast album called Witness Uganda. That is a show that was done at Second Stage, and they're putting out the music as an album, and we're going to talk about that.
And
happy
Richard,
early birthday.
Thank you, Richard, Steve, Robert, Tim. Anything that you're doing that's coming up in the next week, send me the information, and I will include that on YouTube. Okay? So, Richard, you've got the stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. I just want to say thank you, Richard Skipper, for inviting me to chat with these lovely gentlemen here. I thank you all. It was great meeting all of you and listening to your stories. You all are an inspiration, and I hope that we meet again soon. And I want to wish you all a great new year and best wishes and in all your endeavors. So thank you, and until we meet again, thank you.
I want to thank Richard for inviting me and thank my sister Mary for twisting my arm. It's been fun. It's been a pleasure. I enjoyed meeting all of you and hearing your stories. And Take care.
Well, thank you, Richard, and thank you to these gentlemen. I want to work with him. I want to do something with him. I I want to just say, my whole mantra is about unfinished business. There's somebody watching out there. There's something that they're afraid to do, and they're letting fear and self-doubt infiltrate them, and they're stopping themselves. So it's something little. Learn a language, go on a trip, go on that first date, go to the gym. There's something out there that you're afraid to do, but you deserve it. So I just hope that you love yourself and take care of yourself enough to do it. And I thank Richard and thank you all, and I'll see you all again real soon.
Oh, wow. What a wonderful time this has been. Again, I'm so grateful to have been on this panel with such incredible people. I just hope that everybody out there realizes you have the answers within you. Just go within yourself, ask the questions, and the answer will come. Other people do not have the answer for you. Trust yourself, trust your heart, and follow your heart. And you will live a much, much better and much more enriched life. So my love to everybody. And thank you again, Richard. Mwah.